T-Mill, come out and play.
Play it loud.
What up, y'all? This is Q Ball, a.k.a. Dr. Q. I'm here to talk about my newest album, The Aaron MC, available now online. You are in tune with T-Mill.
We're changing the status quo one voice at a time. Through music, edutainment, children, and awareness. We're progressing and preserving the culture through real conversations with people who've had real success. Multicultural artists and musicians, models, entrepreneurs, innovators, and activists. This is Paradox East, and you are in tune with T-Mill. Powered by the MaitlandConservatory.org.
Thank you for listening to In Tune with T-Mill.
Welcome everyone to another episode of In Tune with T-Mill. I'm your host, T-Mill, live from the Rocket City. You will now be encouraged and entertained. Nothing will change until you change something. We are here to change the status quo on another episode. We are live from the Maitland Conservatory in the Rocket City, man. The number 7 best city to live in America, according to Baby Jesus. Please check the stats, man, and move to the Rocket City and help us in our journey as we grow. All right. This show, again, I call it In Tune with T-Mill, but I've been wrestling with a new name because I also want to include artists, entrepreneurs, or artists rather, that are in music or engineers. And so I'm working on a new title, and I'm thinking about titling it In the Mix with T-Mill. So you guys be on the lookout for that, because when we talk to artists, when we talk to engineers, when we talk to producers or anything to do with sound, we're going to call it In the Mix with T-Mill. So that's going to be just a new little thing that I'm working on. And we have an MC, a producer, and when I say MC, I mean someone that moves the crowd, someone that knows how to command the stage, an audience. They don't just hop up on the stage and start rapping without any, with people not knowing what's going on. They interact, they talk to the crowd, they talk to the people, they make the people feel like they're a part of what's going on. They don't just get on there and do their thing. And this guy's serious about his art. He's serious about his music. He takes his time. He doesn't just record 2 songs and then throw those on the album. He waits until he has all the right songs. He might record 50 before he picks 3 to go on the album. And his project that he's been working on, it's been a long time in the making. But as you know, you can't make gumbo in the microwave. You got to let it simmer a little bit. You got to let it do its thing. You got to let it percolate. All right. And Q Ball is in the building, in tune with T-Mill. How you doing, bro?
What up, man? I'm doing good. Doing good. It's Sunday. We're chilling, man. It's been a chill weekend. Cloudy. We're just relaxing, really chilling.
Yeah.
Recuperating. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. It's been one of those weekends, and I wanted to have this conversation and to bring you in to talk about this new EP that you have coming up. And you just recently dropped a video from it that can give people a visual. This is the second visual that you've released from it. But before we get into all that, I want to thank everyone that is watching live. We can't do this without y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's a rule. I looked it up. So make sure that we appreciate you guys watching on all of Q Ball social media, In Tune with T-Mill on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. So if you're listening and you can't see us, you should have been subscribed. All right. So make sure that you follow us. But we're in the building with Q, and the name Q Ball. Now, of course, some of us may guess where that name comes from, but where's the name Q Ball come from?
Dude, so my last initial is Q. My last name starts with the letter Q. And actually, I came up with this name. This story is not that tight. This was back in the day when AOL Instant Messenger was blowing up, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody needed a screen name. So I was just brainstorming screen names, and Q Ball came up. So then it became my screen name, and then very quickly just became like an alternate persona of mine. And when I started getting into hip hop, then it became, my stage name, my artist name. So that's not the coolest story, but that is exactly where the name came from.
You know, I thought you dropped out of high school and started running the streets and pool sharking all across the land, and you landed in the Rocket City and you were hiding from the mob and you changed your name to Cue Ball, you know? So that's what I thought it came from.
Nah, man. Unfortunately, not that elaborate. But it's a good name, man. It stuck with me for a while, and I think it captures, some of my personality. So I like it.
All right. And now you're also, before we get into the music, you're also a lot into science. You're working in science, in the science industry, also at NASA, and you do a lot of traveling. And so tell us what is your science background, or what are you doing in science?
So I have a PhD in atmospheric science. So you can call me Dr. Q.
Yes, sir.
That's legit. I got my degree out at the University of Arizona. And the research I do is in lightning science. So we study the physics of lightning and thunderstorms. And since I moved here to Huntsville, the reason I came here is because I had a fellowship with NASA to do some of that work. And now I'm sitting at the University Alabama Huntsville doing some research there. So that's my day job. It's an awesome job, man. I get to go out and conduct field measurements. I've done some storm chasing in my time out in Kansas and stuff. And I get to work with an international team of scientists. I mean, it's pretty incredible to work with people from all over the world who are studying thunderstorms and learning as much as we can about severe weather and stuff like that affects people, you know.
How often do you watch the news and think, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about?
Well, you're talking about the meteorologists on this?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, those guys are pretty good, and the skills that they have are in forecasting, generally. And that's something that I'm not particularly good at. It takes practice. It takes, you have to learn and recognize weather patterns and get familiar with a geographical location for a while before you can really do that well. My story in forecasting was I was sitting at my desk one day trying to make a forecast. And I was looking at all the data, on the Storm Prediction Center and pulling up radar and looking at the models and stuff. And I decided with absolute certainty that it is not going to rain today.
Yeah.
And then I looked out the window and it was raining. That's when I decided maybe I'm not the best forecaster.
All right. And growing up, now you're Kansas, or growing up in Kansas, or?
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, that's right. Now, I'm always interested in just memories or just coming up. What's one of your fondest memories of growing up in Cincinnati, or just growing up, period, no matter where you stayed at? Just something that you think about now and it's surreal and you're thinking, man, that really happened, or I really went through that, or just something where you kind of think that it was a surreal moment of growing up.
Well, for whatever reason, while you're saying that, one memory popped in my head, and I was just recently talking about, people live out in Denver, Colorado. I got some friends out there, and, one of the things you got to do when you're out in Colorado is, you got to be up on the mountain snowboarding, right, or skiing, because that's how you stay active out during the winter when there's tons of snow. And I was just thinking, I'm not really a boarder myself. I'm not that good at skiing, but what I did love doing, and I still love doing, is sledding, right?
Yeah.
You can just go hop on a sled down the hill. So one of my memories from sledding down in Cincinnati, because, you always start at the top of this steep hill, and at the bottom of the hill is a creek. And you got to bail off the sled before you hit the creek, man. And we got real good at that. This one winter, man, we were sledding. We went down, my brother went down. We all went down at the same time. And we ended up in these bushes, these gnarly bushes, man. My brother gets out. He's got a thorn that's an inch long, just jabbed directly in the middle of his forehead, man. That's dangerous sledding from the Natty, man. That's crazy.
Wow. So growing up, and what brought you to hip hop, or what interest, what caught your interest in this genre of hip hop and making it something that you wanted to pursue and keeping you consistent till now? Because, of course, there's things that come and go. We all have either fads or things that we try or whatever. But then there's things that stick with us. So what sparked that interest in hip hop and kept you through to this day?
So I'm a middle child, right? I got an older brother. And so I was pretty much following his lead, whatever he was doing. So he was in high school, right? And then he started listening. He discovered hip hop first. And he brought it into the house. He started turning on BET after school, you know, when they were playing all the videos. And I was just like, whoa, like, this is crazy. Like, what's going on?
And do you remember what those songs were, or just some of those earliest?
I mean, this was back, like, Missy Elliott was on TV a bunch. And I can't really remember it. I mean, DMX was out, like the Rough Riders and all that. You know, that was crazy. The first hip-hop album that my brother brought into the house was Busta Rhymes' Extinction Level Event. That was the first hip-hop album in the house. Busta Rhymes is the dopest. And like that, man, that just, it blew my head off. And I just had a love for hip-hop after that point. Then I went out and bought DMX, Jay-Z, and just, man, built a whole collection from there. And, you know, I was always, as a kid, doing wordplay, you know, rhyming and doing wordplay. So when I stumbled across hip hop, it was just like, oh man, like these dudes are like crazy with these words, man, like the way they put their rhymes together. And so it had me hooked. And so I just started doing them on my own.
Do you remember one of the first raps that you wrote?
Yeah, man. So actually, the first hip hop group I was in was called the Nasty Natties. Shout out to DJ McDaddy. It was me and DJ McDaddy and the Nasty Natties. We put it out an album. It was either junior or senior year in high school, and we sold 50 copies. Man, we made like $20. That was big.
Dope.
The first rap I wrote though was like young, man. I was a kid, but we put that song. I recorded it on like a tape recorder. I had a Casio keyboard that like I made a beat on somehow. And recorded it on a tape recorder. I put that song on the album. It was a story about like moving, like we moved from Sims Elementary, you know, school district over to Hazelwood, man. And we just like, I told the story about how like we moved in, neighbors were looking at me crazy for a second. And then it was just like, I talked about going to the gas station and getting a pack of ho-hos for $3.50. It was just a ridiculous song, but it was back in the day, you know what I'm saying?
Wow. You got a couple bars from it?
$3.95 for one pack of ho-hos. No, I don't remember that. Remember that line.
So let's talk about this, the Errant MC.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean, and why did you choose that title?
I mean, corny story, man. Like sometimes things just pop into your head. I was just laying on the couch one day and like the word errant just popped into my head. And it was during the time where I was trying to figure out a concept for the album and get a name for the album going. So errant, the word errant means wandering without destination, but it also means wandering like with a sense of adventure. And, you know, I consider myself somewhat of a wanderer. I like to travel. I like going around. I find that I thrive in the midst of change. And so that whole concept, it made a lot of sense in the context of this album because I didn't start the album with a real concept from the beginning. It kind of just became a collection of tracks that I had been making. And then I realized like, wow, I have a body of work here that fits together in a way. And this Errant MC is a good concept to sort of pull all these things that are different styles, different moods, and mentalities. Just sort of pull it all together because it is a bit of a wandering album. It's all over the place.
Wow. And you also produce. And so before we get further into the rhymes also, what started you producing?
Well, I guess I've always been into music, you know, piano lessons as a kid and just had a keyboard up in my room and I would jam out all the time. So the musical element, you know, that's one of the reasons I love hip hop is because there's the MCing, there's the lyrical component, but there's also the musical component. And I try to make my music as powerful as my as my lyrics are on the album. So I guess I just, when I realized you can just get a computer and create a beat in a computer, it was just like a no thinker. I was just, back in the day when GarageBand was free on the Macintosh, you just like, it was easy to do. So I just got into it, man. It's fun. Music's great.
And I have a belief, I could be wrong because I'm wrong about a lot, but I think producers in particular or engineers, for some odd reason, they have some type of connection with math. And I think that most engineers or producers, whether they know it or not, I think they're great at math. And just anything that has to do with formulas and things like that, I think they're really good at it. And they just have this advantage, I think, over others, where it's just their mind works differently because of how they produce or how they put things together. And have you ever sat back and maybe it's through teaching someone or watching someone else do it, you start to think, man, this is not as easy as I thought it was, but it comes a little bit easy to me. But there's a lot that goes into producing or mixing and things. Do you ever just kind of sit back and think, man, this is a pretty great skill that I have?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, interesting you say that. So one thing I've noticed in my science career is that there are tons of scientists and engineers, just like you said, who are also musicians on the side. They play in bands and they perform and do all this stuff. And I think there's something very similar about the mind of a person who is creative and also good at math and science. I think that art and science originate from like one single root. They come from the same part of the mind. Creativity. I was
gonna say, is it that
science.
Left brain, right brain thing where it's maybe they're cousins or they're next door to each other?
I think they're somehow connected, because doing science takes creativity. You have to look at a problem that you don't understand and think about it in a different way to try to understand what's going on. It's part of the reason I love producing, is because you get to express yourself creatively, and the beauty of music is that there really is no wrong answer. Like, you can do basically whatever you want and no one's going to tell you that it's not right. In science, it's different. You get the answer wrong, you're wrong. So producing, you can have the creative side where you're free to do whatever you want, but it gets as technical as you want it to be. I mean, you're dealing with these, digital audio workstations that is, advanced digital signal processing. And some of these machines in the software simulate, hardware that was built, 50 years ago with analog components, and they try to simulate this digitally, and it can get as technical as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And so that's the beauty of it. You can make it creative and technical.
And one of the things that I found kind of cool or just interesting about music is that when it comes down to frequencies, there are, and this is science, or I think there's frequencies that literally you could dial and that could make a person happy or make a person sad. Or, as you know, there's chords that are in songs and there's a formula. It's like, if you want to make a song happy, these are the chords that you play. Or if you want to make a song dark and just angry, these are the chords or the notes that you play, and that those invoke these emotions. And we wonder, well, why does this song make me happy? Or you put 50 happy songs together and they've all got that frequency or that chord in there. Yeah. And then you put them next to songs that make you sad or make you just angry or make you want to go out and whatever. And they all have those same chords or frequencies and whatnot. So I think that science, that whole science to it is just crazy, which brings me to just why I find it interesting that you're a scientist and applying that to hip hop. So with the Aaron MC, you just released tell us about the first video that you released, and also working with a couple local MCs and artists. What was that first song, and what's the story behind that?
Well, the first single I released off the album was Good Fight. Good Fight is a song I did with a local R&B singer, soul singer Raymond Williams.
Yeah, shout out to Raymond Williams.
Yeah, real talented
Tracks
dude.
of life, baby.
And the other MC on the track was K Jeezy.
Shout out to KG.
Yeah. Dope MC. So I had that song. I made the beat, and I had written two verses and a hook for it. And you know how creative projects are with time. There's sort of a time window when you can work on it and write on it and be productive. I had written those 2 verses, and then it kind of passed that time window. So I needed to get a second MC on there because I didn't want to go back in and try to write a third verse. It just wasn't going to work. So I had heard K Jeezy's, some of his work off of his Let the World Be Free, World Be Free album. I was really impressed with what he did, so I invited him on the track, and he killed that verse, man. Did a really good job. And we ran into Raymond at one of the music festivals over at Low Mill. I can't remember the name. It was the latitude and longitude of Huntsville by Startlingly Fresh Records through that festival over there.
Absolutely. Shout out to Terry and Jim.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the first track, and it's a track about, it's a very positive track, and it's about just sort of facing, the problems of the world and the problems in your life, but remaining centered and remaining balanced and just trying to get through with a positive mind state.
Absolutely. And now also the visuals on this album, because you have visuals from The Good Fight, and then you also have visuals from Time's Up.
Right.
And they look great, man. And Time's Up, looks, again, it's something fresh. It's a different location. It's not your same typical hip hop video, and then The Good Fight, there's that story through the visual, that's telling people, hey, don't give up, or, keep going, or, hey, this is just, it's an encouraging song without being preachy and just poppy. So talk about the visuals behind those two, and why did you go that route?
So the first video we did was for Time's Up, and we shot it in the library. The video team I was working with was Everything Intricate. Shout out to those guys, man. They do a great job on the video production.
The team, y'all.
We shot it at the library, Huntsville Library downtown. I love that library, dude. It's a good library. They got nice space up there. It's good to go, get some work done and get some studying done there.
And shout out to them getting that elevator fixed too, because I thought that was never going to happen.
Yeah, that was slow for a while. But it's just, I thought it was a visually cool place to be. And, I was trying to do something different. I didn't want to go walk around downtown because you see that too often, So I wanted to do something different, and I just thought going in the library was a cool place to do it. And I spent enough time there where I thought, it was a good idea. And the ladies at the library were just like, sure, you can come shoot a video, no problem, real nice.
Yeah.
And then the Good Fight video, we went out to the Decatur City Youth Services Center. They have a boxing gym, and they were also really receptive to bring us in, and they do training for kids and for adults. They teach self-discipline and accountability and stuff like that. It's a really cool center out there, and it's a great workout facility. So we went out there to shoot that video. It was actually K Jeezy's idea to do it in a boxing gym. Nice. And once he sent me that idea, I was just like, brilliant idea, So we pulled that off, and there were a lot of people that came out and supported us that day. It was a really cool video shoot.
Awesome.
Mad love to everybody that came out. That was dope.
Absolutely. And y'all were in there looking like UFC fighters. I mean, everybody looked great. Yeah. Everybody looked like they've been there before. Everybody looked real trained and solid. So that was pretty dope. Dude,
the boxing coach took us through like a 12-minute circuit workout where there were 12 exercise stations. We were doing battle ropes and kettlebells and medicine balls and like stretchy rubber band push-ups, and like agility ladders, man. It was tough workout. 12 minutes later, we were like worn out, and the coach is like, all right, you ready for another round? And everybody, I think we got enough footage on that one. Thank you.
Nice.
That was great.
So talk about, when does the album come out?
The album has been submitted to digital, worldwide digital music distribution. So it'll be over the next few days popping up on Spotify is usually the first one, and then it'll be up on iTunes and Apple Music and Google Play and Amazon and all that stuff. So probably over the next week it's going to pop up on all those services. I quietly dropped the album on SoundCloud over the weekend. So for any underground fans who want to go check out SoundCloud, album's there. The profile I'm under is Treehouse615 on SoundCloud. But I know a lot of people don't like going and clicking around on SoundCloud, so if you don't, you just wait for the week and it'll be up.
And as I always encourage you guys to do, whatever your favorite digital platform is, wherever you listen to your music, wherever that favorite place is for you, make sure you go and look for The Errant MC. That's TheErrant MC, The Errant MC. Go search for it on your favorite platform. Add it to your playlists, especially all you Spotify folks with the playlist, man, DJs and curators on Spotify, because y'all got playlists lit out there. So all of y'all that are watching and listening worldwide that have those 10,000 subscribers on your playlists, make sure you go through there, add the whole album. Don't just pick one or two songs. You just pick one or two songs. Whatever song you like, add it to those playlists, man, because playlists are very important on Spotify. What can people expect from this EP? Because, man, people are every day, all day, we get links or just announcements of follow me, check this out, listen to this, watch that, look at this, look at me, look at her, and just all this, it becomes a little overbearing or overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
And in that, you start to miss what's good. There's no filter anymore. There's nothing to say, okay, move that away. That's not good. But check this out. Forget all that. So people start to become just a little overwhelmed or overworked, and they think, man, another one, or another album, or who's this guy, so on and so forth. So what can people talk to those people that want good music, that want to find this music, but they see it come across the timeline, or they hear this and they think, oh man, here we go, another one. Yeah. What can people expect?
I know exactly what you mean by that, man. This album is one of a kind. It's completely original. It doesn't sound like anything else. All the music is original. It's mostly upbeat. There's sometimes I take it down, into a more downbeat tone.
When you say original, you're talking about none of the samples and a lot of old records that someone may have, which is great. But again, by original, you mean just original production, and you. Yeah, it's
original musical production, and it's with a style of my own, and also lyrically completely original. I mean, I pride myself in being different. I don't try to follow a mold. I try to create the mold. So I think the album is musically dynamic. It's entertaining for someone who's into music, and lyrically it's completely unique, man. You're not going to hear anything like this anywhere else.
And I could definitely vouch for that. It's different and it's refreshing, because there's a place for everything. And one of the great things about the Rocket City is diversity. So you've got different restaurants, different bands, different artists, just a good difference of things. You've got all these different things. And then as far as music, you have whatever music that you're into, you can find something for it. But then sometimes it's good to get away or just find something different. And there's people that love to dig for, man, I've never heard anything like this before. Or that person that wants to be the one that found something different that nobody else has. Man, have you heard this? No, I've never heard of this guy. Well, check it out. And you brought that to your friends. You put your best friend or your homegirl on something new that she never heard before. And there's a trophy in that, so shout out to all y'all that just go looking for different music and music that falls under the radar or underground music that that we can all appreciate and say, man, I never heard of that. You know, people that can sift through the noise and find something great and unique. And that's what you've done with this project, man. So before we get out of here, man, once again, any shout outs or anything that you want to let the people know, you know, any upcoming events or performances, because you'll also be performing at Spice Fest.
Yeah, that's right. Spice Fest is May 18th and 19th here in Huntsville. So it's all local music, by the way. So it's really a pretty awesome lineup. I'll be performing there with A-Twist, DJ A-Twist.
Shout out to A-Twist.
Yeah, major shout out to A-Twist, who's also co-produced some of the tracks on the album. We'll see. I was talking to Raymond and KGZ. We'll probably be performing Good Fight up there together. Raymond's got to check his work schedule, though, so we'll see. But, man, shout out to everybody that was involved in the album. Tim, you got on the album.
Yeah.
I don't want to name everybody right now because I'll forget somebody, but I'll post up, online the back cover. You can see everybody that's involved in the album. I got multiple different singers on there, very talented people, all from Huntsville, man. And it's just a really good collection of people on the album, and I really appreciate everybody who came through and did something on the album. It was awesome. Awesome working with everybody.
Absolutely. And I'd be remiss if we didn't get a 16 from you or a verse from the album, just something to blow people's minds, like that Busta Rhymes that you first heard. And as a kid or a girl or a guy that's out there listening and watching this right now, and their first time hearing you is on this podcast or at a show or something, and they hit it, and that's that moment, for them, like, man, he said something. So we gotta get a 16 from you.
Take a look around my circle. All my people are real. Originality and style, that's why we got the appeal. We don't listen to these biters. They duplicated knockoffs, replicated Xeroxed and thrown in a box. Pack it up and ship it out, some sucker buy it in bulk. I ain't caught in that supply chain. I master my game, only deal with high grade. It's gotta be authentic. That lack of independent thoughts become an epidemic. I'm looking at this world through my two eyes. A lot of people are afraid. It's all reflected in their ways. Some will duck responsibility and put up a front, but they can never come through, no matter what they say they do. Disappointing and confused. Don't let them bring you down. Open up and look around. My truest people hold it down. We get creative, exercise imagination, stepping up to take the challenge, and getting down with innovation, yo.
Woo! The Errant MC, y'all. Make sure you go on your favorite digital platforms, wherever you listen to your music, and follow, download, purchase, subscribe to The Errant MC. That's TheErrant MC. And follow him on all your favorite social media. If you're on SoundCloud, it is Treehouse615. Treehouse 615. And I was going to say Treehouse 256. Treehouse 615 on SoundCloud. And follow him on all your social media. What's your Twitter, Instagram, and
well, I only do Facebook, but my Facebook is Cueball Music. That easy.
There it is.
Cueball, one word, no hyphen, by the way.
There it is. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in. You guys that are watching on YouTube, I see the comments. You see where the camera is at, so I'm unable to go through some of that. But we will make sure that we will get the questions over to Q. And if you're watching this after this airs, if you have a question for him or anything, drop it in the comments and let us know. We'll get it over to him as well, or tag him in it so he can see it. So if you have any questions on, booking him for a show, if you have any questions on collaborations, if you need some production, if you need just a dope MC to hop on your project that you want to pay to get on your project, make sure you holler at him, all right? And Q, definitely appreciate it, man, coming out rocking with us and to talk about this album, man.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to get the opportunity to come through, man.
Absolutely. You guys, this is another episode of In Tune with T-Mill. For you guys that are watching live, don't go nowhere. We will have Spice Radio in the building in just a few minutes. We're going to be talking with them. Also, where you can hear about the Spice Fest 2018, the annual Spice Fest that's coming up, and a lot of things that are happening in the world of spice. All right, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I'm T-Mill, and this episode is produced by Sunshine Enterprises, Paradox East, and Palisade Hills. Make sure you guys visit palisadehills.net for all of your audio needs. If you need music for your film, if you need music for your podcast, if you need music for your commercials, whatever you need music for, hit up palisadehills.net to get that music legally original and for all of your needs. We are also powered by the Maitland Conservatory. You see us right here at the Maitland Conservatory in the Rocket City, man. Full music school for your traditional and non-traditional arts to learn piano, any instrument you can think of, ukuleles, all that good stuff, vibraphones, all that good stuff, music production, engineering. Make sure you guys visit the Maitland Conservatory right here in the Rocket City. So stay tuned on YouTube. We'll be back wherever you guys are watching and listening at. We'll be back. This is In Tune with T Mill.